Okay, the time's approximately 7 p.m. The August 8th, 2019 Farragut Board of Mayor and Alderman meeting will come to order. We'll first have a silent prayer, which will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to our country's flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, next will be the agenda. Are there any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir.
None? If
For
not,
approval?
I'll second it.
with a quorum, I will ask for a vote. All in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Motion to adopt the agenda has been approved. Mayor's report. I'd like to personally thank Connor Vermelia for his excellent service while employed at the town, and we wish him the best with his new opportunity to continue his education. I'll now yield the floor to Vice Mayor.
I concur with you on Connor, and he will be missed. In the short time that he served with us, he became a very valuable member, and I told David today he's breaking the rule that I have, that staff cannot leave while I'm serving on this board, and everybody keeps going. But we wish him well.
Okay. Thank you, Vice Mayor. Does any other alderman have anything to report tonight?
I have nothing. Nothing.
If not, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes. Are there any changes to the posted July 25th, 2019 minutes?
No, sir.
None?
Move for approval.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that.
I
motion-
abstain.
Oh,
I was absent.
Yes, you were. Let the record show that the motion to approve the posted minutes as passed will be recorded as official minutes of the July 25th, 2019 Board Mayor and Alderman meeting. Okay, tonight we have two business items listed to review and consider on tonight's agenda. First will be the approval of Resolution R 2019-06, agreement with Tennessee Department of Transportation for construction of SR1, Kingston Pike and Watt Road intersection improvements.
This resolution, R 29-06, it's kind of a belt and suspenders action. It's in favor of the proposal that TDOT had provided that I had attached to this memo in your packet. The proposal outlines the responsibilities of the town and the Tennessee Department of Transportation in development of the project, the Kingston Pike and Watt Road intersection improvements. Now, as you know, as I hope you know, we are trying to dot all the I's and cross all the T's so that this project will move toward construction as soon as possible. Right now, it is, as I understand it, in the October letting. We're waiting for certification of right-of-way, and we're trying to make sure that all utilities are going to be out of the way. Part of this agreement is really ensuring that we're not going to change the project after they're done, not substantially anyway, not without their permission, put it that way. All of this really is to say that we're going to do what we always do anyway. Needless to say, though, TDOT is requiring the proposal and the resolution. So staff recommends approval.
I'm going to move for approval of Resolution R 2019-06 in agreement with proposal from the Tennessee Department of Transportation for construction of improvements at the intersection of SR-1 Kingston Pike with Watt Road.
I'll second it.
Good discussion.
So let me, just for clarity, certification of right-of-way is just part of the process of right-of-way. You assess the right-of-way, apparently you assess the right-of-way again.
That's great. We have acquired all of the tracts necessary to build the project.
Okay.
TDOT goes through all of the right-of-way documents, all the closing, the appraisals, make sure that we've done it in accordance with the Uniform Act, which is a federal requirement.
Okay.
And once that is done, they will certify it, and we can move forward. But that's just, I'm sorry.
Go ahead. Is that the same thing will happen with Union Road? Same
It is.
process? Okay. Thank you. That's all I had.
Yep. Any other questions?
I want to clarify something. On the north side of Kingston Pike, Walnut Road there, those concrete islands are being removed completely. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, just want to make sure I understood it.
And we're also going to tighten up the radius returns. The idea is to make it a much better pedestrian crossing there.
Good.
So,
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, vote by saying yes.
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 Let the record show Resolution R 2019-06 has been approved. Next will be approval of appointment to the Farragut Museum Committee.
It's a one-year unexpired term that's open on the Museum Committee that will end in June of 2020, and William Rhodes III has applied for this appointment, and staff is for the appointment of William Rhodes III to the Museum Committee for a one-year unexpired term ending June of 2020.
So moved.
Discussion? No discussion. All in favor, vote by saying yes.
Yes.
Let the record show that the appointment has been approved. Okay, next will be ordinances. We have 4 ordinances to consider tonight, with all 4 being a public hearing on first reading. First will be ordinance 1923. This is an ordinance to amend the C1 mixed-use town center portion of the Farragut zoning ordinances as applied to drive-throughs and menu boards on existing developments with drive-throughs that predate the mixed-use town center land use designation.
Okay, this particular ordinance amendment deals with the general commercial mixed-use town center portion of the town. And particularly this relates to drive-through businesses that are existing in this particular land use designation area. The McDonald's that has been in the community since the mid-'80s is getting ready to undergo a renovation, both an interior and an exterior, to try to, bring their site and their building up to a newer standard, the corporate standard. And as part of this, as you all know, I'm sure everyone's been to the site many times probably. It's a very compact site. There's a lot of stuff going on, and it's barely over an acre. So it has a lot of tight internal traffic circulation kind of challenges to it. So one of the things they kind of came to the town staff about and to request is whether they could split up the ordering point into 2 lanes. It's still one drive-through lane, but it kind of splits it off into 2 ordering points. And that would help a little bit with the traffic flow, because when this building was initially constructed in the mid-'80s, it was mostly a walk-in business. There was probably a fourth of the business was drive-through, and now it's almost the opposite. It's probably 3/4 of it is drive-through. So they're trying to look at ways to improve the traffic flow internally on the site. But because it's in the mixed-use town center area, though, they needed to request some amendments to that portion of our zoning ordinance, specifically as it relates to having more than one menu board and more than one drive-through lane or ordering point. And so when the staff presented this to the Planning Commission as a workshop item, they understood the issue and were favorable to the staff moving forward and trying to develop some language that would give some of these existing sites some flexibility if they could demonstrate that what they were doing was an improvement to the current condition. So we came up with Ordinance 19-23 and presented it to the Planning Commission at their meeting in July. and it was unanimously recommended for approval. It basically just acknowledges these pre-existing sites and where an applicant can clearly demonstrate that they are improving the safety, really, ultimately, internally in the site, that the Planning Commission has some flexibility to grant them an additional, ordering point and with an associated menu board in that case. So this is not really, we don't have that many restaurants in the mixed-use town center area, and McDonald's is probably the one that most frequently has drive-through patrons in comparison to some of the others. They also are making some improvements to the parking lot. The ADA spaces will be compliant after this project. They're going to add some landscaping where they can on the site to help green it up a little bit more, and provide some enclosure around the dumpster area. So overall, it'll be, from the staff's perspective, a vast improvement to what they have out there, both internally and externally. The big pylon sign will be removed as part of this project too. They'll bring all the signage into compliance with our current sign ordinance requirements.
So Mark, with this change then, if I understand right, there could be actually two signs, is what I hear you saying?
Yeah.
Where before that, I know when Starbucks applied for that, they came to the Board of Zoning Appeal and we said no.
Well, the thing is, Starbucks was a complete new construction.
Okay.
This is really dealing with an existing
These are only
site.
existing, okay, so future,
And really
building
only
won't
would
have that.
apply
Okay.
where the applicant can demonstrate that they're improving
Traffic flow.
okay,
site dynamics, in this
That's
case,
fine.
the traffic
Okay.
circulation internally. Because the stacking will be improved somewhat by adding the second ordering point, because you're kind of splitting that traffic briefly. It's still going to be, pretty much what it is.
And they're providing more, they've taken out a few of the parking
Yeah,
spots.
they've
so
taken
that
out some of the
You don't
parking
get stuck over
spaces
here. They've
to
made
lessen
it a safer.
conflicts with people backing out into people that are in the stack lanes.
Before we go any further, I'd like to move for approval of ordinance 1923 on
Oh,
first
we
reading.
didn't make a
I'm
motion
sorry,
yet.
I asked a
Sorry.
question before you moved, my bad.
Second.
Like
Do I have to ask
continue
my question
discussion,
again, or
please?
does it exist? If I forget my question, I'll ask it again.
We butcher Robert's rules all the time anyway. Can I ask a question just of formality? The line 7 of the resolution, restaurants is spelled wrong. I assume that doesn't really matter because that's not in the language of the ordinance itself, correct?
Where and what?
On a resolution to approve an amendment to the text of, you go down to line 7, restaurants is spelled wrong. But I don't think that matters because that's not the text we're changing, correct?
You see it?
This capitalized part, this big part right here.
It's in the resolution. I don't think it's an issue.
Oh, it's not an
That's-
issue. I mean, we can correct it.
Okay, I didn't think so. I didn't know if it needed part of the motion. That's all I was asking.
We'll get that corrected for
Yeah,
second reading.
that's easy.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll fix that.
I like that spelling.
I did not, yeah, that's so busy, that whole, just makes me so dizzy just looking at that.
Establishments is spelled wrong
good.
too.
Oh, goodness.
It's on the education committee.
Caps lock doesn't catch, the spell check doesn't catch caps locks, so.
Right.
We'll get the spelling corrected.
Yes.
Apologize.
Yep, sorry about that. But,
As long as you're not screwing up there, and there, I'm all good.
that should have caught that one, though, establishments. I don't know what happened there.
Any more discussion?
I guess a question for the rest of the board. So we're all comfortable that allowing this for existing properties, nobody can ever come back later who's building a new property and argue, well, you're doing this for these existing properties to have the two signs. So now we want you to approve two signs for this new development.
It specifically
I mean, it
says
says
right there, on existing developments with drive-throughs that predate the mixed-use town center land use
As long as
designation.
you're all
So,
comfortable with that, I am too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
we're protected there. Okay, looks like we have a motion and a second. I'm going to ask for a roll call.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Poplin. Mayor Williams.
Yes. Okay, let the record show that ordinance 1923 amendment was approved on first reading. Okay, ordinance 1924, an ordinance to amend chapters 2, 3, 4 of Farragut zoning ordinance related to the creation of the Outlet Drive Regional Entertainment and Employment District, which is OD-RE/E, that will replace the C2 RW district. Realty Link applicant.
This ordinance actually amends 3 different chapters of the zoning ordinance, 2, 3, and 4, in relation to development along the Outlet Drive corridor. As you all recall, we had a joint board planning commission workshop on June 6th, and we talked about the Topgolf development specifically. And it was obvious that that was a very unique development in a lot of ways. And frankly, the Outlet Drive corridor is unique in a lot of ways in relation to the remainder of the town. And it was apparent that we'd need a lot of amendments to our ordinances to provide for the kind of development that we were looking for out on the Outlet Drive corridor. So originally, when we were talking with the applicant, we looked at the C2RW zoning district. That's where the Outlet Mall property is located. It's regional commercial retail warehousing. That's what that stands for. We were looking at that district because it was the only property that was currently zoned that, and it would kind of restrict it to a pretty limited land area. But then after thinking about this a little more at the staff level at least, we felt like we might want to look at this more broadly and approach this as kind of a corridor, a new corridor specific zoning district, given the uniqueness of what was proposed in the area, kind of the surrounding plan of development out there. So we ended up creating a new zoning district that would replace the C2RW, and that district would be the Outlet Drive Regional Entertainment and Employment District. We talked with the applicant and those that were in attendance at the July 2nd staff developer meeting about a draft ordinance that we had put together at that point. We got some feedback from the applicant, and we were able to go back and make some additional changes before we presented this to the Planning Commission in July. And so, one of the things that kind of drove the staff's decision to look at this more broadly was going back and looking at your all's adopted strategic plan, and there's some critical success factor language in there that talks about, providing for entertainment venues, family entertainment venues, development on north of the interstate, and those kinds of things. So to us, creating a district that was kind of specific to the corridor was real consistent with your all's strategic plan. And so some of the things that are in, highlights of the ordinance would include, we actually created a definition in working with the applicant of what a regional recreational and entertainment facility would be, so as to differentiate that from maybe smaller scale type of entities that might be more common in regular C2 zoning. And then we talked, we developed, of course, the new district, and then we created some provisions that would be unique to the regional recreation entertainment facility, things dealing with the height. As you know, they have some accessory structures that are very unique, so we had to try to address that. Some architectural design standards and flexibility in the district, given the surrounding existing plan of development that you have in the county. We have that in there. Created some modifications for wall signage, created an opportunity for there to be a master sign for unified development along the Outlet Drive corridor. It's kind of similar to what you have on the south side of the interstate in Turkey Creek. Not exactly, but that's kind of the idea, is you would have a corridor development sign. It would just be one allowed on the corridor. But that would be kind of the idea, since you're targeting kind of a regional market. And then just providing for, again, architectural materials flexibility in the corridor to kind of blend in with what's already out there. And then providing for vehicular parking requirements for the regional recreation entertainment facility, because it is such a unique kind of use. So that is pretty much a summary. There's a lot of information in there. I mean, I'd be happy to try to answer questions y'all may have. This was unanimously recommended for approval by the Planning Commission at their meeting on July the 18th, and the staff does recommend approval on first reading of ordinance 1924.
I'll move to approve ordinance 1924 on first reading.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
I have just a question of curiosity with regard to the architectural design guidelines. Is the Sitel building in compliance with this already, or, and it doesn't have to be, but
I don't know.
will Sitel be?
I don't know the answer to that, really.
Are we rezoning Sitel? Isn't,
We'd have to
Yeah.
rezone it to something, either that or C2.
okay.
I didn't hear that either. What would you say?
Either this district or just regular C2.
It has kind of morphed into C2, basically. It really has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It probably doesn't meet either standard,
Okay.
frankly,
All right.
in terms of materials.
Just curious.
Based on my memory of that building. It's mostly concrete block, but it's not really qualifying masonry on most of it. But as you all well know, if you got Cotton Eye Joe there, and you got the areas to the east in the county, there's mostly kind of warehouse buildings, so you've got kind of you don't have all brick buildings, in other words, as you're coming in the corridor. So that's why we felt like, again, having a corridor-specific zoning district in this case made a lot of sense. And we could kind of justify why there's a differentiation between that area versus maybe other parts of the town where we'd want to have a higher masonry percentage.
Well, you come in from the other direction, and you have a mobile
Yeah,
mobile home
right, that's right.
recreational vehicle parking lot, so
Yep. Yeah, yep,
I
that's
don't
true.
think that's going away anytime soon.
Let's hope
Yeah.
not.
A general question, in section B, part 7, I was just curious where the 5 acres came from. Is that just the track has to be at least 5 acres? Is there some
Well,
kind of
we're
formula?
trying to set a standard for this being truly a regional venue that would differentiate itself from somebody who just wanted to put a, putt-putt golf course or something. This is kind of a large-scale, really, truly regional type development, and you would almost, at a minimum, need at least 5 acres, which they clearly have way more than that.
Right, okay. Okay.
Any more discussion?
If something comes along that's, wants to be on some smaller acreage, but it makes sense, we can always do a text amendment, but,
Yes.
yeah.
That's
it's-
right.
Question
yeah,
is,
Yes.
what happens if something else cool comes
Yeah.
by and it's
It's-
4 acres, and what do we do then? And
Then we can, we can
okay.
talk about it,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
That's right.
Okay, any more discussion? Okay, this being an ordinance, I will again ask for a roll call vote.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes, ma'am.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Okay, let the record show ordinance 19-24 amendment was approved on first reading. Okay, next will be ordinance 1925, an ordinance to amend Farragut zoning map of parcels 15406, 15407, 15408, 15409, 15410, and 17601, 17602, tax map 130 along Outlet Drive corridor from C2 and R2 to OD RE/E, approximately 36 acres.
Well, obviously, this item relates to the previous item. The request involves 7 parcels in the Outlet Drive corridor to rezone to the newly created zoning district, potentially. This is the result of really several months ago, the steering committee for this comprehensive land use plan, we looked at the Outlet Drive corridor. That was one of our priority areas, and we ultimately proposed some changes to the future land use map to the Planning Commission to change mostly the parcels that abut the interstate. They were previously under office light industrial land use, and we wanted to change that to provide for the kind of development that would be more consistent with our strategic plan. So we went with a regional commercial land use, and that was approved by the Planning Commission in April. Most of the property in question is already zoned regional commercial. There's one parcel in yellow there that's currently zoned R2, and most of that parcel appears to be largely under sinkholes, and it is included as part of the rezoning request. The staff did indicate to be consistent with how we recommend rezonings. We always have to look at the future land use map, and for that particular parcel, because it does have a lot of sinkholes, we weren't able to support the rezoning of that one because it is shown largely as open space. However, it was noted, at the Planning Commission meeting, and I think correctly so, that even if you rezone it to the new zoning district, you still are going to have to comply with the sinkhole ordinance and any other applicable land use regulations. The staff was just simply trying to be consistent with how we make recommendations in referencing the future land use map. The Planning Commission was comfortable with rezoning all 7 parcels, and they unanimously recommended approval of that. So this is what's being requested for first reading, is a rezoning of all 7 parcels to the new OD-RE/E zoning district. I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
With asking for a motion for approval.
I'll move.
Ordinance 19-25 on first reading.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I'm just glad to hear that the Planning Commission had agreed to change that parcel 176-0.01 to this new zoning. So I think it's a good move. Glad we're doing it.
I think their concern was it wasn't really developable
Right.
because of, but that was going to come out in the wash anyway.
Right.
So, did we have this special called meeting for this?
June 6th? You talking about the Topgolf?
Yeah.
I think it was June
Yes.
6th. Yeah.
I want to just make a comment
Yeah.
that we worked very hard from a planning commission level, from a staff level, from a board of mayor and alderman level. I find that we're looking at 2 months out, and we're already approving an ordinance to bring this wonderful asset to our community, People like to talk about how difficult it is to do business in Farragut. It is most certainly not difficult to do business in Farragut. We have certain standards that we like to keep. We're concentrating on making sure that we remain a high-quality residential community. We understand that we live with sales tax And this is going to be an incredible asset to our community. It's in a perfect location to preserve our high-quality residential community. For the people that don't want to deal with it, they don't have to. It provides a demand driver on the other side of of the highway. I think this is just an incredible get for us. I'm thrilled that they're coming to town. I'm thrilled that they landed in Farragut. I'm thrilled that they had no other choice but to land in Farragut, and I'm glad that we could lay the red carpet out for them and let them know that we are open for business. And maybe this sends out a message to other businesses, small and large, that we are ready to talk and ready to work with everyone. So I'm very, very happy with this process.
Okay. Okay, again, this is another ordinance, so we'll need a roll call.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Okay, let the record show ordinance 1925 amendment was approved on the first reading. Okay, last ordinance will be 1926, an ordinance to amend Farragut Municipal Code Chapter 12, Municipal Court by amending Section 12-9, Services of Court Process, and adding Section 12-12, Collection Agency Services, to collect unpaid fines and court costs.
Mayor, this ordinance is an update to our ordinance dealing with the court. We've had a couple of issues this year. We've had a very busy summer in our code enforcement area dealing with high weeds, grass, things like that. And we've had a particularly difficult time serving people to come to court, which just exacerbates the issue even longer before they will actually take care of the problem. And one of the issues is, I think, our current language in the code specifically doesn't allow many people to be able to serve those folks that need to come to court. So we're adding some language that allows not only myself or my designee, but also the town attorney and his designee, any code enforcement officer employed by the town, and any court officer or bailiff. And that could be someone that's outside of town. We have a lot of property owners that are actually live outside of Farragut. So trying to get them, we need local authorities there to sometimes serve things for us. So I think this will help in that regard. The second issue we've had is not being able to collect the fines that when they do come to court and are actually found liable and guilty for their violation, not being able to get those fees in. There's really no mechanism for that right now, and state law does allow the opportunity for the town to use a collection agent as long as the Board of Mayor and Aldermen approves an ordinance approving that. So with this ordinance in front of you, we would be asking to amend those two different areas of the code, and we ask that you approve ordinance 1926 on first reading.
I'll move to approve ordinance 1926 on first reading to amend Farragut Municipal Code Chapter 12-9 and adding 12-12.
Second.
Discussion?
I have a question, just because I looked over our unpaid court costs, and I noticed on a Shop Farragut item, is there a way that I can kind of research what these things are? Because you
We
don't
have
have to
a-
tell me now.
And I wouldn't know that right now, but we
I-
do have all those prior records. We do have. We can get
Okay.
those to you.
That would be good to know.
Anything else, discussion-wise?
Nope.
Okay, great. Then again, I'll ask for a roll call.
Mayor Pavlin.
Yes.
Alderman Burnett.
Yes.
Alderman Meyer.
Yes.
Alderman Pinchuk.
Yes.
Mayor Williams.
Yes. Okay, let the record show ordinance 19-26 amendment was approved on the first reading. Okay, next will be citizens forum. Do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, sir. I have one speaker tonight. It's David White from 314 Vista Trail.
Okay, if so, I'll ask each speaker to, if they've had an opportunity to read the comment protocol located on the back of tonight's printed agenda.
Good evening. My name is David White. I've been a lifelong resident of this community that now we call the town of Farragut.
Your address, sir?
Pardon?
Your address, please, for the record.
I live at 314 Vista Trail.
Thank you.
I'm here to speak to you about your new process of building permits. And please understand, I don't have any problem with the building permit process that pertains to contractors and builders. I think that part of your new process is excellent for both you and the builders. Where I have a problem is with the everyday citizen, the homeowner. I happen to be one. I happen to be a contractor, but I also happen to be a senior citizen. I've gone through this process because I applied for a permit for a garage, and it is overwhelming. And I'm speaking mainly of senior citizens, people who want to do a minor remodel and act as their own contractor. And I'll kind of go through the thing if you bear with me. First of all, you have to create an account with the town of Farragut, like you would J.C. Penney. Everything has to run through that account. Then you proceed to try to fill out the permit application. As you go down the application, the program does not recognize that you clicked a garage, a deck, a screened-in porch. It doesn't differentiate between a house. So all the information below that has to be filled out, something in it. If you're not computer, a little more than average, better on a computer, then you won't know to look for certain things, but you have to fill out everything before it'll let you go on. About 2/3 down, you'll see a paragraph that says if you are a homeowner acting as a contractor, then you must sign and notarize an affidavit. And you can find that affidavit in the document section. Well, good luck, because you better be better than average to go find that document. Once you find that document, if you did not see the save button, when you come back, everything's gone. You start all over. So once you get through that, you've got your document, you're ready to proceed with the printing of your documents. The only problem is if you don't have a scanner printer, then you can't scan them. If you're lucky enough to have a scanner printer and you scan them in, then you have to create a PDF file for every document. Then you have to somehow move that PDF file back to your all's program. Then if you ever get through all that, then the fun begins. Because now you have to deal through that program for everything. And I'm telling you guys, I mean, we've got some people that don't have computers. There's a lot of people not going to have a printer computer or a scanner computer. And there's going to be a lot of people that just want to build a new deck, add a screened-in porch, put on a garage, or do a minor remodel and won't have the money to hire a contractor and will want to do it themselves. But they'll never get through this process. Now, Mark Shipley and his staff have been very, very cooperative, very nice, offering to help. But think about it. If somebody doesn't have a computer and a printer and they come down to the office for the staff to help them, then they're going to have to put this in a program for them. They don't have a computer at home. So every response, setting up inspections, paying for the permit, everything has to go through this program. They're going to have to come down to the office and seek help every time. But there's a simple solution. If you maintain the program as it is for builders and contractors and simply make an exception or an option for a homeowner wanting to act as his own contractor, can do it either way, the old way with a paper or in this new program. And I was told that the main objective was to save paper. Guys, it's 6 sheets of paper. Here's my application that was just approved. It's 6 pieces of paper. So I'm asking you for everybody else, because like I say, I'm done. Thank goodness it took about a week and a half and help from somebody that knew a computer for me to get it done. But mine is done. But I'm speaking for all those people that are going to come. Like the elderly lady in our neighborhood, the deck's falling down. She's 82 years old. And the people from her church are going to help build her deck. She's going to have to come get a permit. There's no way she would ever get through this. So I'm asking you, please, if you would consider thinking real hard about offering that exception to the people that don't have a computer, can't have the computer savvy to get through this. And to me, it's a simple fix. Thanks for your time.
Mr. Wright, I appreciate your feedback. I'm sure you're aware that we are at the beginning of this process of trying to work through all of the, trying to move into this century as far as our codes and how we're handling stuff. And new issues come up, and it's something that we have to continue to work through. I know right now it's a work in progress. So certainly what you've provided is good feedback for us to understand. Ultimately, our goal is to provide a good service to our citizens, and that means that we're going to have to figure out how to be flexible for our citizens who aren't computer savvy so that they can achieve what they'd like to do, which is to improve their houses. When you're pulling a building permit, it's because you're trying to improve your existing structure. So I appreciate your feedback.
Yeah, thanks for coming, and good luck on your garage. I went through the garage addition myself, and Mark was a great help with me too. So.
Say something for citizens. I wanted to do something at Citizen Forums because I wasn't sure if someone would come in and talk about what's going on in Peterson.
I have one more speaker.
Okay.
And
There you
I
go.
believe she's here to talk about that exact item.
All right.
This is Rebecca Smith at 512 Banbury.
Rebecca Smith, you said?
Smith.
Okay, Ms. Smith, would you please give us your address, please?
I'm sorry?
Could you spell your last name again?
Oh, Smiths, S-M-I-T-S,
And your address?
512 Banbury Road.
Okay.
Vanderly?
Banbury, B-A-N-B-U-R-Y.
Got it.
Okay.
Okay, have you had a chance to look over the comment protocol on the back of the agenda?
I did a little bit online, so yes.
You can abide by that, okay?
Yes.
Okay, you've got 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. I've lived in Farragut my whole life. My parents bought a house in Village Green when I was about 9 months old. When I was in college, we moved to Saddle Ridge. And then after my husband and I got married, we lived in Nashville for a couple of years, and then we came back and bought a house in Kingsgate, lived there for 16 years, and then in the last 3 years we moved to Banbury, so just a mile a mile away. We still go in the same way and the same way out. So over the years we lived on West Kingsgate. Originally, Peterson was not paved with yellow lines. It was just very much a subdivision road, and I don't recall the speed really being an issue. I mean, those hills do make it difficult, especially I drive a Suburban now, and so it does pick up some speed going down those hills, so you really have to pay attention to what you're doing. But I don't really remember speed being a problem, and then I remember when you all paved those yellow lines, and suddenly I said, it looks like a road. It doesn't look like a subdivision anymore. It looks like a road, and sure enough, people started going faster, and they still are. And I appreciate that you all did listen to us when we came forward before, when other residents of the neighborhood came forward and said Peterson speeding is really a problem. As you know, there was a child that was killed on West Kingsgate who was 4 several years ago. It was actually diagonal to the house that we lived in. And another child has been struck since then, too, on West Kingsgate also. Those are the only 2 I know of. I'm not sure if there's others. But and then now you all have paved and put the bike lane in. And driving that Suburban down the road, I cannot stay in the lane, especially going into the subdivision. I can't stay on my correct side of the yellow lines without sideswiping mailboxes. Most of the mailboxes hang over the side of the road. And I'm not sure where all the measurements were taken, but I found it really hard to believe that it was measured all the way down to make sure that it met the parameters of how wide a lane has to be. I know that I got some feedback about the ordinances that you all used, or the codes, or I'm not sure the term for that, but and the width of those. But the width of those also included, and from the things that I looked at, from the I think it's the AASHTA. I'm not sure if I'm saying that acronym correctly. But yes, it looked like that would also include a 2-foot shoulder, and there's no shoulder. There's just curbs, and sometimes there's not curbs. So it really doesn't fall within that. And also, when you consider the mailboxes, most of which hang over the curb, you've got even less lane to deal with. And just yesterday, when my husband was driving home, he was going up Peterson, and of course the bike lane's on the other side, but the cyclist, who's probably the 4th cyclist I've ever seen, actually attempt Peterson, because, I mean, come on. I don't know how you drive on a bike, but anyway, he was going in Peterson as well, so he was on this side. So you've got him and a pilot trying to, safely pass. There's blind hills. I mean, that's just disastrous, and other people are coming down, and they're scooted over anyway because they've got to respect the new bike lane. So it just, people might be driving slower, but it just seems a whole lot more dangerous to me. So I don't know what the solution is. Going back to how it was before almost seems better. And I know we'd asked for speed humps, and that wasn't possible due to the grade, but I'm thinking you can't bicycle up it. So 4 people I've seen attempt it in the 19 years we've lived in the subdivision, and I drive it frequently. I have 6 kids, and so that's a lot of shuttling back and forth to schools and stuff. So I do drive it multiple times throughout the day. So I've seen it a lot. So anyway, I just wanted to express my comments, and if you all have any responses to or explanations, that would be great. I don't know how this works.
You're fine. I actually was going to bring this up because I did some research on this, because I know that there's quite a few people that are
Very upset.
There's some that
Facebook page is blowing up.
I know, but there's some that are supportive. I've gotten some feedback from people that are very supportive that aren't going to venture onto a page where everybody's mad because everybody will be pile on the person who's saying the nice things, so they don't say anything. So here's the thing. There was no way we could put traffic calming humps, speed humps on that stretch because of the grades.
Yeah, it's steep, right.
But you do have a speeding problem.
Correct.
Which, you know what, if this was just adults and everybody was, the neighborhood was fine with it, why would I venture into that? But we have 5 bus stops on Peterson.
Yes.
So we are requiring children to walk to those bus stops. At one point, you had a 85th percentile of 38 miles per hour. The 85th percentile means 15% of those people are going faster than 38. Is that correct?
15% are going faster than that, yes.
So that was closer to the beginning. You have a bus stop, and at where they assessed was 38 miles per hour. And then there's 40 mile per hour at another location, and 36 miles per hour at a third location. This is put out by Vision Zero. When a car is traveling 20 miles per hour and it hits an individual, you have a 10% likelihood of a fatality or severe injury. If that same car is going 30 miles per hour and hits an individual, there's a 40% likelihood of fatality or severe injury. At 40 miles per hour, it's an 80% chance of likelihood of fatality or severe injury. When we start putting children in that situation, I think once we're aware of the situation, I think it's unconscionable that we don't do anything about it.
I agree.
So we didn't have an option of putting a sidewalk. The creation of what I guess the beginning of Kingsgate was really Highland Hills when it was created in 1959. Okay. The way they built it back then there was nothing there. So when that was built, they had a very narrow road, and the houses are close. we don't have any right-of-way to build a sidewalk, and I can't see how we are going to get agreement of 30 homeowners along one side to agree to allow us to put a sidewalk in there. If we could have a sidewalk, that would be
That
the
would be ideal.
solution. Really, that
That
would
would
be
be
the
ideal.
best solution. Without that not being a solution, we had to look to the next best solution, which is by putting in that bike lane, which is 4 feet wide. Is the bike lane 4 feet wide?
It's 4 feet.
And then you have
the long section of it has a 2-foot buffer.
And a 2-foot buffer. Those are AASHTO standards that we live by. The 9-foot lanes, the 2-foot buffer, the 4-foot bike lane is meant to be a refuge, a place where the kids can walk, because we,
Well, it's my understanding that there has to be a 2-foot buffer on both sides, not just on the one side. Am I wrong?
I don't know AASHTO standards. This is
Okay.
what,
I've Googled some and found some today, and it looked like there had to be a 2-foot shoulder. Did not mention anything about bike lanes, but it said 9-foot wide lanes plus a 2-foot shoulder paved or gravelled on either side.
and I'm not
Bike
clear on that.
lanes were not
Yeah, I
included
don't-
in that equation unless that changes the numbers.
I'd have to look back at that, but
Okay.
it's my understanding that it does meet the AASHTO guide for development of bicycle facilities on a minor collector.
I think that has a lot to do with it right there is what it's called. as
Well,
far as
is
its
the chart I
designation.
was looking at was for collector roads, because I know that was specifically said to
There's
one
a
of the
major
residents that
collector and
talked
minor
about that.
collector, okay.
Correct, yes, that's what I was looking at.
we'll have to get with Matt about the specifics on that, because I
Okay,
don't.
because whatever I found, those standards said 9-foot wide lanes plus 2 feet of shoulder. It did not mention bike lanes on that particular chart, so I don't know if maybe that changes if the
That's-
bike lane
yeah.
is included or not, but, I mean, if you're in the lane without the bike lane, there's not really anywhere else for you to go and not be over the double lines. I mean, am I going to take out somebody's mailbox or,
Yeah.
you know, obviously that would be better than a head-on collision, but if I'm having to stay over here so that I'm not hitting side-swiping mailboxes with my side mirror. So, and it's just a Suburban. I mean, it's bigger, but it's not a dually, it's not UPS,
Yeah.
it's not FedEx, it's not the school buses that, you know, travel a lot, so.
But I would like to add that we do have a number of collectors that have not been improved over the years that have maybe 9-foot lanes
Well, Union
with
Road
with
is-
no shoulder.
Union Road
Now,
is-
mind you, you don't have mailboxes every,
Yeah,
120
because they're
feet.
on both sides too, they're not
Right.
just on one side. I
But-
mean,
but
like
they
on
don't have-
Danbury, they're just, you know, well, part of it, they're probably on, but.
I will say this, because I live off Union Road, and that is not a standard road by any stretch. I mean, at some points, it's 6 to 15 feet wide.
That is narrow. Well,
And
yeah, because
it's-
when I lived in Saddle Ridge
yeah.
and we would take the back.
So
roads
you're
sometimes.
familiar. So it becomes.
I had an Accord then, so it didn't bother me
Yeah.
as much.
But, and I would love to see a center lane down that, but it is a negotiation. And I struggle, because we are purposely putting children.
Right, because like I'm
Yeah.
grateful that you
Yeah.
all saw that there was
Yeah.
a need and that you tried to meet it, but it's just, I don't know what else the solution would be, but,
Yeah,
it's
that's
just-
kind of where we were. What's the
you
solution
know,
here?
it's just still,
I think it's going to take
a
some
little
learning on a lot of
reckless,
people's
you
part
know.
that travel that. I think over a period of time, it'll be like any other minor collector that's narrow like that. I think they're going to be able to see that they're going to have to slow down and kind of center themselves in that lane. And I think that
well,
has.
there's areas I cannot center
I think
myself
that
in
I
the
drove
lane.
it. I've got a big truck too. I've
Yeah.
got
Have you driven it?
an Avalanche, and I drove up it
Okay.
and down it. And of course, going up, you need to stay right in the center. Coming down, you should. But of course, I've seen the stuff that's on next door that a lot of people don't like. But it's just part of what we had to do. And I think tonight they're going to finish striping, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, the striping was a little wonky, to say the least.
the
too.
striping, there was a problem.
It was a little,
last night.
it's a little wiggly.
Yeah, they corrected that.
Okay.
But, yes,
I
there'll
just thought
be,
y'all are very into aesthetics, and I thought, gosh, did they really look at this after it was done? Because usually Farragut's pretty worried about the
They went
aesthetics.
out last night and got
You know.
that straight.
contractor
Okay.
was,
There was one
She
spot in
was-
particular that was bad. I didn't really
she
pay
came
attention
out
to it today,
herself
but-
and apologized, and I mean, they're
painted.
a great bunch. It's just one of those things, but they did correct it all last night.
Great.
Rebecca, this is just, we're working through this, and I appreciate your input. this is a tough situation that we're in, and I'm sure you are understanding the situation with our children, and
Absolutely, yeah, 6 of them, so
It's-
they don't ride the bus, but
I think the other thing it may happen is I think some of the people that live on the road may understand that for their mailbox to live, they may need to put it to
scoot
where
it.
it
Yeah,
belongs.
because I mean, technically,
instead of
they
hanging
really shouldn't
2
have their
feet into
mailbox
the
sticking
right of way.
or out, but,
yeah.
you know.
And that might
might
be
need to rein that
the
back.
solution.
But I don't,
Yeah, that might be the
I don't know
solution
how
we
that
need.
happens, so, other than just necessity if it
Yeah,
gets knocked
yeah.
over, but anyway, so,
But we appreciate you
thank you. Thanks
giving
for listening, I
feedback-
appreciate it. so.
Feedback.
Thanks a lot. Okay, I'll now yield the floor to the town administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. We've got a lot going on here in the next couple of weeks in town, and starting on August 16th, it's a Friday, our museum is going to have a new exhibit called Timeless Toys. That's going to be open until the end of the year. Also on the 16th, 17th, and 18th is Dog Days. Shop Farragut, along with the town of Farragut, are putting that on at Village Green. I know Steve and his gang are going to do a great job out there, and you get to see a lot of dogs jumping in water, big dog air, whatever they call it. It's a lot of actually cool events. So that'll be going on the 16th, 17th, and 18th. Also on the 17th from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock in the morning at Mayor Bob Leonard Park is Fun with Farragut's Fleet. So bring the kids out, and they love getting on all the different pieces of equipment that are out there. And finally, our Intro to Farragut class has closed, and we will have our kickoff meeting for that on August 21st. We have about 15 people in the class this year, so it'll be a good class size, and that'll be right here in this room on August 21st for that class. So with that, that's all I have to report.
Okay.
You forgot to mention lawn chair series is this
Same day.
same day, 17th.
As well.
And the music, Sounds of Summer is the 16th?
Day before, yeah.
The night
Day before.
Yep.
A lot going on the 16th and 17th,
Yeah.
no doubt.
Busy day.
Everybody's in town.
Okay, don't look like we have a town attorney tonight, so there will be no report there. Okay, if anyone else have anything to discuss on the board? No? Okay, if none, then time is approximately 5 till, and without objection, August 28th, 2019 Board and Mayor and Alderman meeting is now adjourned.
You know what my prayer was? I have said a little prayer. Could I please stop jumping every time you hit that dang thing?